You are now tuned into the Cut Game radio show hosted by Groom City.
It's the Cut Game radio show, we let them know we stay true
To the Cut Game.
Yeah, that's how we do. It's the Cut Game radio show, we let them know we stay true
To the Cut Game.
Yeah, that's how we do. It's the Cut Game radio show, we let them know we stay true
To the Cut Game.
Yeah, that's how we do.
The Cut Game radio show hosted by Groom City.
That's how we do.
Hey, what's going on? It's Groom City, and you are now tuned in to the Cut Game Radio Show, #1 podcast for your hair needs. And right now, I have an amazing guest on the phone today. But before I introduce today's guest, let me just give a shout out to any and everybody out there that's been tuning in to the Cut Game Radio Show, that's been supporting the movement and following us on all our platforms. We salute you. Now, the barber industry is bigger than I've ever seen it. It's a lot of connections being made on social media. A lot of barbers have been able to really grow large followings behind their brands. But there's one platform that barbers seem to have a little bit of trouble in, and that's YouTube. But today's guest has been able to really grow a large following from YouTube in a short amount of time. He's also co-owner of Headlines Barbershop, 7 locations, owner of an amazing product line called Tune 45, and as of today has over 150,000 subscribers on YouTube, which has opened up doors for him to be able to do business all over Europe, Russia, China, as well as the United States. Today we have YouTube sensation Chris Bossio on the Cut Game Radio Show.
What's going on, Tayari?
Man, what's going on, Chris?
No, man, excited to be on this show, man. This is dope, man. I appreciate you even thinking of me.
Oh, man, thank you for blessing us with your presence, man. So today, before I pick your brain, we got to go all the way back. I want to take us to the womb, take us to the soil. So where were you born?
I was born in New York City. I was born in the Bronx.
Bronx, what year?
1988.
Oh, okay.
1988. Yeah.
Okay, so you was in the 80s, Bronx, New York. So how was your upbringing in the Bronx?
Well, I wasn't raised in the Bronx. I tell people I'm from Tampa Bay, man. I'm super proud to be raised in Tampa Bay, and I always try to put on for Tampa Bay because it's an amazing city. I actually was moved out of New York when I was 5 years old. My parents, they didn't see a future there for me. They thought it was dangerous, and the Bronx is a rough part of New York City, so they wanted to start all over from scratch with me, so we moved when I was 5.
Oh, okay. Now, how many siblings do you have?
So my dad has kids with two different women. I have 2 older brothers, and 2 older sisters. I'm the baby.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So your mom, your dad, and yourself, y'all moved down to Tampa, Florida at 5 years old.
Yep. So
do you remember a lot during that time?
I remember a lot because it's funny. I don't talk about this much. I remember a lot because I had a funny childhood, man. I didn't start walking or talking till I was 4 years old. Yeah, I was like, we got VCR tapes of me in a stroller, bro, at 4 years old. And the doctors, they thought I was gonna be a mute. Like it was crazy. It was one of those things like where my parents. That's one of the reasons why they were motivated to take me out of New York, and they felt like the school system in Florida would be better. They felt like I'd get more help, more care. Yeah, man. So I definitely remember a lot because all I could do was try to pay attention to what was going on around me because I couldn't communicate. You know what I mean? I was dependent on other people, so I was always aware of my surroundings.
So you're sitting there processing the information, but you couldn't quite communicate?
No, absolutely not, man. Absolutely not. It's crazy. Just looking at like videos of it, it's kind of surreal that I was ever in a position like that. Wow.
So when did you start talking?
When I got to Florida, man, my parents made the right move. I was put in like special classes and stuff, and I made a lot of progress there. So I was probably like maybe like a year into Florida where I started making a lot of progress and stuff.
Definitely. So were you in a standard kindergarten and first grade school?
Yeah, they put me in a standard school. I had some classes that were a little, you know what I'm saying, that like they would move me certain hours to a different class where I'd get like literally one-on-one attention.
So processing this, tell us how you were feeling during this time.
Like honestly, I didn't know. I probably, like for me it was whatever. It was more so what my mother was feeling. Like my mom thought it was like Santeria. I don't know if you know what Santeria is.
Yeah.
So my mom thought somebody like cursed me or something, So it was more so what she was going through. She was always stressing, depressed about it. Like, I was the baby, so it was a lot of that. Like my mom, she refused to give up on me. Like she would take me to all kinds of doctors. To this day, she tells me stories about it. Bro, she took me to witches, bro. Like just trying to figure it out. She was desperate, man, by any means necessary. And I guess that's a little bit of a hustle, right? It's a little bit of ambition, and I think I get a lot of my ambition from her, man. Like definitely.
What age would you say that you were speaking? Were you caught up with the rest of the kids?
I would say probably by 6 years old, I was good, but I was still in classes because I couldn't pronounce certain words like everybody else and stuff. But I could get things done. I always felt like I was equal to everybody. I've never even brought this up before publicly because it doesn't define me. Like it's never defined me. It's never been. You know how some people have some issues and they'll blame everything on that. Why they haven't had success in something. I've never been that way. My parents never let me be that way. So I've always felt equal. But I would say probably like 6 years old and on, I really blossomed. Like I was good. I just couldn't pronounce words a certain way, or you could just tell that like something was a little off as far as my speech. And I was in speech classes probably all the way till the end of elementary school.
Oh, okay. Now, in Tampa, were you stable? Were you in the same neighborhood throughout like the high school or whatnot, or did you guys move around a lot?
Nah, so when we first moved, my dad didn't come with us. He stayed in New York. He was trying to grind it out and pay the bills and be able to slowly move us over. So probably like the first year we was in the Tampa Bay area, I didn't have my dad stayed back, but then he came like after a year, and then everything started going smooth and everything. But my upbringing has always been good, man. I had my dad, I had my mom. Even though my dad was never around, my dad was always working. Like he's a great example in good ways and in bad ways, right? So I never felt like, up until probably freshman year in high school, I started realizing like, damn, like, my dad's a great dad. He's a provider. He's always been loving and stuff. Just never was really around because he was always working. Like the man barely speaks English till this day. After living in this country for 35 years, barely speaks English today, and he still managed to open up businesses, still managed to make a lot of money. Like I said, there's some good and there's some bads. Like, I learned from him how to manage my time a little more, to be around my kids a little bit more, especially during these times. So I got a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. But I also learned the importance of work, man, of work ethic. So he was a great example to me in a lot of good ways, more so positive than negative. And then my mom, same thing. She worked a lot too. I remember my upbringing being really cool because like I literally would come home from school, throw my book bag in the house, and be out on the streets, man. And the neighborhood that we lived in, literally it was in blocks, and there was sidewalks around every block, and you walk over to the next road and walk over to the next road. It was weird, but it was like the perfect neighborhood. Not in a stance of like money, but like people were always out. You were always able to like, the ice cream truck would come by. You'd be able to stop the ice cream trucks. You'd be able to, go across the street to your friend's house and knock on the door and stuff. And it was like the perfect environment for one to blossom, especially somebody like me that wasn't that good at speaking. And it's a funny thing because now that's all I do is speak, right? But I didn't know how to speak, literally. And being in that neighborhood, it was perfect because I always had friends. I could literally drop my bag off, go on the streets and talk to people and be social, and it was awesome, man. Like, I will never sit here and tell you guys, that my upbringing was rough, that this and that. I don't care. Like, for me, some people might think that my upbringing was rough, but for me, it was just an upbringing, man. And I took the good and I took the bad, and it's made me the person I am today.
Nah, that's what's up. So during your childhood, did you frequent the barbershop?
No, never. I never even thought about barbershops. Like, I was an athlete, man. My first sport was soccer. I was better at soccer than I was at basketball, but it wasn't the cool thing to do at the time.
Mm.
All my boys were playing basketball or football, and I took on basketball. I think I was like 8 years old the first time I played basketball. And one of my friends on the block, he started showing me how to play. I was a natural at basketball, and I've been playing ever since. Never like organized ball, because there wasn't any of that where I grew up. Like, I think Salvation Army had a league, but I wasn't involved in any of that stuff till later on, till like pretty much high school.
Mm-hmm. Now, how did you stay groomed if you didn't frequent the barbershop as a kid?
My mom used to cut my hair. She would do a straight job. So I had long hair. I even had cornrows. I had plaits. I had all that stuff. And my mom would just trim my edges and line me up. And that's how, growing up, that's how I walked around. But for the most part, I didn't start visiting the shop till high school.
What changed? Why did you start visiting the shop during the high school?
I cut my hair off. So I played football. I played football like in middle school and stuff. And all my friends had braids or dreads or whatever. And I always had long hair too. It was just, that was the environment I grew up in. And then I go to high school, and I decided to do something different. Everybody, it was that time where everybody was cutting their hair. Carmelo would cut his hair off. Bow Wow cut his hair off. Everybody was cutting their hair, and I'm like, yo, let me see what I look like cutting my hair. So I cut my hair, and barbershop ever since.
So walking into that barbershop after you cut your hair, how'd you go about choosing the barbershop or choosing the barber to perform the service?
Yari, bro, like, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Uh-huh.
Like, I had no knowledge with barbering. Like, it didn't matter. Like, whoever my dad brought me to, that's who I got my hair cut by. I didn't even think about barbering till college. Like, I didn't know barbering was gonna be my career. It's crazy because, I cared about my lineups, but if I went a month without getting a haircut, it wasn't a big deal to me.
Mm.
So like barbering it wasn't to me when I saw barbers in my neighborhood, it was a front for drug dealing, or they were drug addicts, and they couldn't get a job nowhere else, so they worked in the shop. Like, that was my perspective on barbers, and the only barbers I ever saw getting money were the owners of the shop. And most of the time the owners of the shop had the barbershop as a front, because they were the head honcho. They were the ones making all the money off, what was happening behind the scenes. That was always my perspective, when it came to barbershops, especially, in the neighborhood I grew up in.
Wow. Because what I'm getting at is, since you were going to the barbershop now that you cut your hair low, I know there's always different conversation. It's a different barber culture, especially the culture that you're sharing with us. I'm pretty sure there was conversations going on and different things being spoken on that's going around in the community, just keeping people up, especially during times where there was no social media. A lot of times the conversation that's going on in the shops is basically neighborhood social media. I'm just trying to see why you're in that environment. What did you soak up from the barbers?
Man, this honestly, this is a tough one, man, because to y'all, like, my experience was I didn't soak nothing up, man. Like, it wasn't that social hub where I was from. It really wasn't. If anything, it was it just wasn't a cool spot. Like, I know most barbershops are the community hubs. The barbershops I own today are community hubs. Like, we do as much as we can with high schools. We donate Gatorade. We do a lot. But the barbershops where I was at, bro, it wasn't like that at all.
Wow.
I'm dead serious.
Wow.
That's why it just never touched me. And I know this is a unconventional answer, but that's 100% reality from my experience growing up.
No, but I like that because we all aware of the nice, fun shops, even though they could be, where there's a lot of camaraderie going on, and there's barbershops that exist out there that they're not fun to be in.
Bro.
And based on what you're sharing with us, that was one of the barbershops, I guess. So you went to that barbershop, what was it, based off closest shop to your house?
Nah, I mean, in my area, probably if you drive out 30 minutes, and then drive the other way 30 minutes, in my neighborhood there was probably like 6 barbershops that were well known, and I went to all of them. It was just, that was the culture.
Wow.
There were no there wasn't no barber culture. It was literally, come on, there would be a barber driving a Maserati. He didn't get that off of hair money. The dude was never in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was never in the shop. So how he, you know what I mean? Like, you would go to the shop and see people literally get into a fist fight. It was not cool to be a barber where I'm from. It wasn't. Even most of the barbers weren't even licensed. Most of them weren't even legally licensed. And there was some dope barbers putting out really nice work. And you'll never see them again because they got banned in the state of Florida. They got to go somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Because they've been caught so many times without a license. That is literally my experience growing up with barbershops. That's why it was never in my vision ever.
Did you pull anything from this experience while running your current barbershop locations?
Of course, man. I mean, like I said earlier, I learned from everything, whether it's good or bad. With my dad, the way he raised me, I learned from the good and the bad. With these with the experience I had with these barbershops, man, I definitely learned from the bad. It was like 98% bad. And I learned from that. I think that's the reason why Headlines has the culture that it has, because I've seen the ugliest of the ugly, and I never really reflected on that till now, till you asked me these questions. And I was really trying to dig deep to give you a good answer, to give you a positive one, because I always try to find the positive in anything.
Yeah.
Before I speak negative, and I tried, but I couldn't find it, man. I couldn't think of nothing, and I absolutely believe that it laid the foundation, unconsciously, organically. It laid the foundation to what Headlines is today. It's literally the opposite of that,
Yeah, but that's how things work. That's balance. Coming from that negative experience, you're able to create a positive experience to balance it all out, to counteract what you've seen. You literally have reference points of how a barbershop can go if it's not managed correctly, or if it's not ran correctly, or if it's just the ecosystem is off. You have examples of what type of environment can be created, especially if you have any shops that's near neighborhoods similar to the neighborhood that you grew up in. So we're going to backtrack a little bit. So you finished high school. Were you a good student in high school?
Man, I was the worst student ever. Like, I literally was on a newspaper article how bad a student I was. And it was mostly because people were like, I've never felt so ashamed. I've never felt like, so when you walk into a place and you know what everyone's thinking,
yeah,
and it's not good. Like, people, everybody's like, this dude is really messing up. Like, this dude is a dummy. This dude is a loser. Like, when they wrote that article about me, it was pretty much, this kid is throwing his life away. But he's doing everything in his power to get it back. I was, like I told you, I was a natural with basketball. And I played probably 2 seasons out of 4 of my high school career. My sophomore year, I was starting on varsity. I didn't really get to play my freshman year. I probably played a few games and then got ineligible. Started my sophomore year. Midway into the season, I'm ineligible again. Come in my junior season, play a few games, ineligible again. Couldn't play my junior year. Senior year, I finally have like a 2.3 GPA. I could play. I play in this preseason tournament, and I killed it. We were playing against teams in New York City, teams from all over the place. I think I averaged like 23 points a game in this tournament. And I started getting some D1 looks. Like people, like UAB offered me a scholarship right there and then. It was the craziest thing that's ever happened to me at that point in my life. I finally felt like I could do something with my life. And my coach was like, yo, no, we need to relax. There's going to be more offers coming. And I'm doing my thing. I'm balling. I had a great season. They would call me the Silent Assassin. They didn't know where I was coming from. I got Conference Player of the Year. I got Regional Player of the Year, and that's like 12 counties. They gave me Player of the Year for like 12 counties. We had the best season in high school history. And then here comes like, you know, the second semester, and I end up with a 1.7 GPA.
Oh man.
And the reason is, it isn't because I'm a dummy. It's because I didn't like school, and I just kept skipping school. I wasn't going. I wasn't attending. I wasn't turning in homework. I just didn't care. Like, I didn't realize what I was doing to my life. And my parents didn't know what was going on. My parents were too busy. They was working. You know, I told you guys in the beginning that they were always working. And my parents, they couldn't keep track of what I was doing. They didn't know I was skipping. That 1.7 GPA came out, and I literally lost everything. Like, everyone withdrew from any offers. I did all kinds of school visits and stuff, and all the schools I visited withdrew their offers. It was crazy. And that's when people really started talking about it. And I felt like it was dark, and I couldn't go nowhere. I couldn't go to nowhere. I couldn't talk to my parents because I didn't want them to know. I couldn't talk to anybody. And the only person I had was my wife today. She was, you know, my girlfriend at the time, and she literally coached me through it all. I ended up starting to take night classes. When most seniors are leaving school at 12 p.m. because they got they only take a few classes because they're so ahead. I was taking all classes. I was taking classes I failed in my freshman year just to raise my GPA. I was taking all kinds of classes, and I ended up that year high honors throughout the whole thing, 4.0 GPA.
Dang.
And and I raised my GPA to a 2.7, and I ended up getting one school to take me in. They gave me a scholarship. Believe it or not, it was half academic, half athletic, and I ended up getting a scholarship. But I literally was a horrible student. And if I even go before that, one thing a lot of people don't know, I was in anger management throughout middle school. I literally got into a fight every single week. Every single week. I was just a terrible student.
Now, what do you think was causing the anger in middle school?
It wasn't even anger. So we ended up moving to Spring Hill. Spring Hill is like a suburb, a half hour away from the city of Tampa. It's still kind of considered the Tampa Bay area, but it's 30 minutes out from like the real Tampa, right?
Yeah.
And at the time, this was in the 90s. At the time, this was in the late 90s, early 2000s. It was a very racist place, and at that time, my complexion, people didn't know what I was. People didn't know if I was Hispanic, if I was mixed, whatever I was. And I literally was called nigga every single day. Like, it was every single day I would go through this racist stuff, man. And it never really bothered me until I started realizing, until I started registering how hateful that word really is, right? As soon as it would come out of somebody's mouth, it was a wrap. Like, I was swinging. And my mother gave me the okay. I'll never forget. That's all I needed. Kind of like that Kevin Hart thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Kevin Hart went back, he thought his mom gave him the okay, so he went back to school and started cursing everybody out.
Yeah.
When my mom said, "Yo, if they touch you, don't even talk. You need to put them in their place." When she said that, it was a wrap, man. I was ready to fight everybody. I get in fights all the time. Before you know it, they got me anger management. It was a crazy experience. I don't know if you know Brooksville and Moon Lake, but like when that whole Confederate flag thing happened,
Mm-hmm.
Brooksville was like in the center of it all. Moon Lake is one of the capitals of the KKK. So it's a very funny environment.
Wow.
It's not so bad now. Like it's not so bad now, but like I told you, I always had like my culture was always the athletes, the ball players, and you know what I'm saying. So like when you go into a new school and people are looking at you funny, like they don't know what you are, you don't really fit anywhere in any group. People start to act funny around you and they say dumb things. And if I had to just generalize everything, man, I was a horrible student, but I was always a good person.
So middle school, man, experiencing racism. Racism is so ignorant, but at the end of the day, racism cannot stop your destination. It cannot stop your destination.
No,
So
absolutely not.
so you're middle school experiencing the racism. Okay.
Sarah, let me touch on that too, man, because I got a funny outlook on that as well.
Yeah.
Growing up, my friends were black.
Uh-huh.
DeJuan Harris, he's in the NFL right now. My best friend, my brother, is black. Like, because that was my environment, because that was my circle, I was automatically thought of as being mixed. You know what I'm saying? So I was in the line of fire too. There was one time specifically where we was literally middle school students, bro. We're walking down the street. Me and my boy, we're walking down the street. My boy Mike, and there's dudes old enough to drive who circle around us and start shooting us with paintball guns, calling us coons.
Dang.
You want to talk about dealing with some racist shit? That's racist. And I apologize to curse. I never cursed.
Yeah.
I try, especially on things like this. But when you start talking passionately, it slips. That's the type of experiences I've had, and I still have a different outlook at it.
Yeah.
Right? I feel bad for those people. That's ignorance. I can't think of a single person who put me in that position, who spewed hate towards me, that's doing better than me. Because I'm not a victim.
Yeah.
That shit made me stronger, bro. That made me so strong. I wouldn't trade that for the world. I'm happy I went through that. It made me pick and choose who I hung out with. But if you're that type of person, I don't want you to stop hating me. I don't want you to change who you are. I want you to be ugly. I want you to hate. I just know I gotta stay away from you.
Yeah.
And I need to make sure that I surround myself with good people.
Yeah.
I want to be able to point somebody out and say, that's a bad person, man. And I'm gonna stay away from him. I don't need him in my life. So I don't want to change who he is. Let him be hateful. He ain't doing better than me. You know what I'm saying? So like that's always been my outlook ever since, and I'm grateful that I have that outlook towards it. And I hope a lot of other people do too.
Yeah, I know earlier in the podcast, we made statements that hate is confirmation. A lot of times it's confirmation, and it's some pretty good fuel. Of course, passion, drive, but when you got drive, you got passion. Pats on the back, handshakes, that's cool, but a lot of times proving people wrong and just overcoming different obstacles, that's some of the best fuel. You can really, we call it jet fuel. You could take flight, elevate.
Of course.
So that one college that reached out to you, that offered you a scholarship, did you end up accepting the scholarship?
So they didn't reach out to me. What happened was I showed my high school coach that I raised my GPA. He was the same person who was like, don't take this scholarship from UAB because it's going to be a lot more to come. And I didn't. And my grades dropped and I lost all my scholarship offers. It didn't go as planned. But he believed in me so much, man. When he saw my GPA was a 2.7, that man literally went to work for me. His name is Coach Pretty. I haven't seen him ever since I went to college, and I feel so bad for it because I owe him my life. He doesn't know this, but he went to work for me. He started sending out my game tapes to every school he possibly could. And there was one school in Kansas that watched it. And it wasn't like a highlight reel. It was literally two full games so they can see the good and they can see the bad. And they watched the entire tape. They fell in love with me. They called me, and I felt like they gave me the world, man. Like that was the call I needed. He asked me to come visit the school, let him show me, let him prove himself to me, and I didn't even want to. I said no, no, I don't need to go look at your school. I accept your scholarship. I'm ready to play for you. Thank you for believing in me. And I took that scholarship ASAP.
That's what's up.
ASAP, man.
That's what's
Yeah,
up.
absolutely.
So what was your experience like stepping on that campus? Know that you earned that position.
So I was super proud, but it was bad timing. So this was 2008. I graduated in 2007. You know what happened in 2007?
Mm-mm.
The recession.
Oh yeah.
The markets crashed. Real estate crashed. My dad lost his business. My mom lost her job. Everything was horrible, man. I didn't have a car. I went out to Kansas, to the Midwest, to the middle of nowhere. Had no money, had no friends, had no car. Literally was just there for an education and basketball. I had my girlfriend back home, who's my wife today, and I missed her like crazy. And it was culture shock. It was culture shock. It was so much different than what I'm used to. I'm used to New York City. I'm used to, Florida, and I go to Kansas. It didn't matter. I busted my ass. I played good. Our team was multicultural. We had people from everywhere. It was a dope experience, but at the same time, it was rough because I had no money. This is the part where I first get exposed to barbering, right? Because it didn't happen when I was going to barbershops. It happened now. And here's what happened. I was broke. I've always been broke, but this was real broke. This was literally like I was making magic happen with ramen noodles. I was making magic happen. It was super broke. And we got meal cards and we got a little bit of money on the weekends. But once it was off season, you're on your own, right? But there was one particular teammate of mine. He was from Dallas, Texas, and he used to cut everybody up in the school. He'd be in his dorm room putting in work, and he was giving people fresh fades, all that good stuff. And I never forget it. He was the teammate with the nicest car, the nicest clothes. He was always going out, and he was still playing basketball. He was still maintaining, his grades and everything. But because barbering was so flexible, he was making a lot of money too. And I really looked up to that. Like, I was like, damn, how can I create that for myself? So I got really homesick, and I decided I was going to transfer to another school. When you transfer, you got to take a year break. So I came back to Florida. I figured, I was going to go to one of the community colleges that offered me a scholarship before my grades went to shit. And I had to take that year break, and I said, you know what? I refuse to be in the same position I was in when I was in Kansas. So I'm going to go to barber school. I'm going to learn how to cut hair. It was supposed to be a side thing. It wasn't supposed to be my career. It was just supposed to be something that I could do while I was in school.
Yeah.
I specifically remember going to my first day of barber school and falling in love with it. Like, I went home and just started throwing up, like, not throwing up, but like really just going in, just talking about it to my wife. I never forget it, man. Ever since that day, I couldn't sleep at night. I was watching videos. I was Googling stuff. I was trying to be the best barber I could possibly be at that point in time. It was just amazing to me. It wasn't normal because my barber school again was in the hood. It was literally in the hood. I didn't cut with scissors. I didn't use a straight razor. It was just the fact, like, cause my teacher at the time, she inspired me a lot because she had a license, cosmetology license in 6 different states.
Dang.
And she had a lot of experience, so she would speak a lot of vision to me. So she really helped me out. She ended up leaving, outgrowing the school, I feel like. But the like 3 months I had with her was life changing. If I probably would have had a different teacher at that time, I probably wouldn't have been so passionate. But vision is speaking vision to people is a big deal. Like, if you don't speak vision to people, I feel like that fire dies out really quick. People need a reason to be ambitious, to be, to be motivated. And that first day in that class with her, it was a game changer for me.
Now, can you share a little bit what she was speaking to you?
bro. She wasn't talking about. Here's the thing, like what I noticed from most educators and even educators at these hair shows, what I noticed is they talk about getting booked. They talk about making $50 a haircut. They talk about owning a barbershop one day. Bro, she was talking about owning your own product line. She was talking about opening up your own school. She was talking about traveling the world, educating. She wasn't talking about what everybody else talks about. And like it just opened my eyes, man. It just showed me like, damn, this is real serious. And I was brought up by an entrepreneur, so like my entrepreneur, lights started going off.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what she was talking about. I like to give credit where it's due. I just want to make sure people know her name was Miss Pam. Miss Pam, I love you. Thank you so much. You don't know this, but you inspired me. Sorry.
No, that's what's up. No, paying homage is, to me, one of the most respectful things ever is when you pay homage. So did you go to school straight, or did you have any setbacks while you was in barber school?
So it took me 2 years to finish barber school.
Why is
2
that?
years. When I moved back. So when I moved back, I didn't know. I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't think it through. Right? Where the hell was I gonna live? Like, where was I gonna stay? My parents had just, they went through everything they went through. They went through a divorce. They're not even together no more. I don't have a house to go to because, now they're renting out the house. They're living who the hell knows where. My dad went to Colombia. Like, I ain't have nowhere to go. And I didn't think it through. So I ended up moving in with my aunt, my uncle, my cousins. Like, it was literally like a 2-bedroom condo with a 2.5 bath. It was literally that with like a family of 4 trying to live in there. So sometimes I would stay in my car. It wouldn't make sense for me to go over there and sleep over there. Sometimes I would sleep in my car, and I was taking on whatever jobs I could because I had to make money too. So I was a dishwasher at Boston Market. That was the first job I took when I got back. Then I took another dishwashing job at a house. And then a restaurant was opened up right next to my cousin's house. It was called Arby's. I don't know if you're familiar with Arby's. But
Yeah.
Cool. So I ended up taking a job at Arby's. I was washing dishes and making sandwiches. And it was a struggle. But I ended up, moving in with my wife, my girlfriend at the time. We got an apartment and stuff. So the bills started racking up. So I ended up working my ass off to work my way up in that restaurant. In like a year and a half to 2, I think it was like 2 years, I ended up becoming the general manager of that restaurant. And that slowed me down. Because my girlfriend became pregnant. So, things got real serious. Like I needed to provide. It went from me going to barber school so I could go to college to me like really having responsibilities and having to work, to provide. And that kind of got in the way of barber school. So, I would take a couple months off, come back, a couple months, come back. I would try to, finesse the system and clock in the morning, go to work, come back and clock out, try to get hours for the day. It took me 2 years.
So you graduate, you pass your barber exam, you license.
No. I graduate, I go to a barbershop, tell them I graduate, and once I get the job, I never go back to get my state board to do my state board exam.
What?
Yeah. So this is what happened. I go to his barbershop. It was my brother-in-law's barbershop. He didn't own it, but that's the one he was going to. He told him I was a barber. He said, "Let me look at your work." He saw it. He gave me a job. So I ended up taking like the state board exam maybe like 3 months later. But I waited too long and I failed it. And then I didn't go back. For another year. So it was like a year and 3 months till I get caught from the state, from an inspector. I tried to finesse and I acted like I thought I was good. Once you fail the test once, you're good to work and all this stuff. And no, he was like, "No, you got to schedule the next day. You can't just go back to work. And you got to schedule the next day." So he gave me a pass I go and I take the exam and I got my license, but it was like a year after I finished barber school that I got my license.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So when you failed the first time, did you fail the practical? Did you fail the written?
No, so when I took the exam, literally that year they got rid of the practical. So in the state of Florida, there's only a written.
For real?
Yeah. So
Even to this
all
day?
through barber, even to this day. So all through barber college, there was a practical and a written, and that's what they were teaching you. But the year that I took the test, they had gotten rid of the practical. So even to this day, there's only a written.
Dang, that's what's up.
Can't do a fade, but you pass that exam, you good.
How long did you stay at the shop that you got caught up in?
I was there for pretty much that year and 3 months, man. Some things had gone on between that time, and you know he kind of forced me out, not because I was a jerk or anything like that. It was just, you know, I was trying to grow more than he was trying to grow.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you know, you realize, damn, there's a ceiling above you, and then you got to make a decision. You know, are you gonna let that ceiling stop you, or you gonna make the best decision for yourself and your family, and that's what ultimately ended up happening.
Oh, I can dig it.
So it was so funny story. What ultimately started to make the disagreements was I put together a website. And on the website, I started accepting online appointments. This was 7 or 8 years ago. There weren't no apps. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is some innovative stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jesse Lima put me onto this. He was using Gembook, and he was doing it. He was one of the first people I knew that was doing it. So he told me about it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna slap it onto a website and try to get people to book me through it. And it ended up really doing well. And then I made one for Christian Perez, and it ended up doing really well. So the barbershop owner found out about it, and it was something I was trying to get him to do for the shop, and he wasn't doing it, so I just did it myself. And he got mad about it. Well, his reason for being mad was, if you ever decide to leave, you're gonna take all your customers with you.
Mm.
And I didn't get it. I don't know about you, Tayari, but like, that's my customers. You know what I mean? That's not the shop's customers. That's my customers. There were days where I was cutting 0 heads. There were weeks where I would cut 10 heads. The shop didn't do nothing for me. You wasn't like, I'm sorry, but there's a lot of barbershop owners that do not promote their shop, that literally just sit there and collect booth rent, and that's what that shop was.
So it was a booth rent barbershop, or was it?
It was a booth rent barbershop. He started charging me full booth rent 3 weeks in, even though I wasn't making no damn money, and I didn't play victim though. I took on the challenge, and I started getting out there, and I started putting in work, and I was literally there 7 days a week, every single day. I was the first one in the shop. I was the last one to leave, and I stayed consistent. And every client that came in, I made sure I gave them the best haircut of their life, and I stayed consistent with it, and I earned that clientele, right? Like, you didn't give that to me, so I should be able to take them with me. And the funny thing is, that thought of me leaving never occurred until he said that to me. That's when I realized, damn, this dude's holding me back. And I wanted to build a shop. I wanted to grow together. And he pushed me away. He pushed me out. Long story short, me and Christian Perez, we got together. And between me, him, and Christian's best friend, Danny, we opened up our first Headlines location.
How far was it from the location that you just left?
So it was on the other side of Tampa, probably like a 10 or 15 minute drive. And I'm so glad to this day that I made this decision, right? So whenever we make a decision, me, Danny, and Perez, we've sat down and we've literally sat down and said, we never want to give anyone any reason to hate us. We never want to give any reason for someone to be able to say, point out, and tell somebody, yo, I don't like these dudes because they did this to me. I never want to be in that position. So guess what I did?
What's up?
I didn't tell a single one of my clients that I was leaving. And I didn't tell a single one of my clients where I was going. Most people would be like, you're a dummy. You're dumb. And it's probably true, but I don't think short term ever. I always think long term. I've always been a long-term thinker. And it's the best decision I've ever made, because that man could never, ever say I screwed him over. As a matter of fact, we gave him 2 weeks in advance, and he wanted us to leave the next day. Bro, I did my best to make sure there was no way this man could ever talk ugly about how this all went down. But what ended up happening is we opened up, and it was a very slow first 5 months. We would bump into people, that found us, that been looking for us, and here's the proving factor. They're your clients when they go out of their way to find you.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell your clients where you're going. You don't have to tell your clients you're leaving. If they're really your clients, they're literally going to go to that same barbershop and be like, yo, where's my barber? Oh, you're not going to tell me who my barber is? That's all right. I'll find him. And they'll go out of their way to find you. The moment one of them finds you, it starts spreading like wildfire. I didn't have to tell none of my clients. By 6 months in, that barbershop was booked. That barbershop was good. It was ugly. It was slow. It was scary in the beginning, but that's the proven factor. So, if you're a barber and you're gonna open up a barbershop, never forget you're a barber first. Never forget you're a barber first. Don't ever put nobody in that position that I was put in. That's an ugly thing.
No, it is. It is. I 1000% agree, because at the end of the day, this is my opinion, but they kind of earned the right to be able to ask you questions on how to build a business, and that's why I asked earlier, how far was your location from his location? Because if you're 10, 15 minutes away, you're not really in the radius of where his customers are. He should have been supportive. Hey, you need any help? You got any questions? Give me a call. I wish you guys nothing but the best. It should have been more of that when you guys decided to open up a shop. It should have been more like that. So,
Yari, it's funny because he fired a barber maybe 2 years ago that we took in, and that barber told us that he now makes his barbers sign a contract that they can't open a shop within a 50-mile radius.
Wow.
How does that sound, bro?
In some cities and states, that's a whole different state. You know what I'm saying? Like in the East Coast, you'd be a whole different state. Like he basically you can't open up a shop in this state. You gotta go the next state over. It could be a county all day.
Bro, you know what, man? I really appreciate you because you really made me I really feel like I've seen so much ugly. That it's literally made me the person I am today. I try to be as opposite of all that as possible. 50-mile radius.
Yeah, now that's I can see 5-mile radius. That's reasonable.
5 mile I can see.
I can see 5-mile radius. But yeah. I got a real simple philosophy. I don't know how many billions of people it is on this planet, but when I get one in my chair, I can't cut two in my chair. Yep. And to me, that's powerful. Once I have a person in my chair, I'm maxed out. So for someone to have any type of feelings, at the end of the day, once you have one customer in your chair, you are maxed out. And there's a billion people around this planet. And especially different services out there, they don't even have to have hair to be your client. So it's no reason to hate, but that hate is sometimes needed to elevate the greatness in people, and it's needed to elevate certain individuals to get to their proper destination. So a lot of times you got to look at hate as a blessing. And
of course,
on Chris Bossio's story, we're just seeing it from his childhood to working in the shop. We're just seeing that a lot of times the hate pushed him so he can expand and grow and get to that destination that God has for him. That's why you got to show love for your enemies and not really respond with the same type of energy they're giving you, because that hate could be blessing you. It could be making you uncomfortable so you can grow and expand, just like Chris Bossio. And you see where he is today. That hate that he received in that location made him and Christian Perez move to a location 10 to 15 minutes away, struggled a little bit, but that location eventually turned to 2, eventually turned to 3, and now currently they have 7 locations. So with the growth of the Headlines brand, did you have any setbacks growing it to the 7 locations that you have today?
Man, we had a setback every location. So the first location, obviously, I told you guys the first 6 months was crazy slow. Didn't know if we were going to make it, and things turned around eventually, and it popped. That location now has 13 barbers, super busy location. Then we opened up our second location. That was the one in Carrollwood. We call it the Northdale location. And that one took 2 years to pop. Not 6 months, 2 years to finally pop. And it's our smallest barbershop. Now we have 8 barbers there, but it's our smallest barbershop, but it's also a very busy shop now. Like we're busting at the seams. We're planning in 8 months we'll be moving to a bigger unit in the same plaza. But we got people walking out of that shop every single hour, it seems like, because it's so busy. So it's a blessing. Like, you gotta go through some pain. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like with everything, you gotta go through some pain, and that's the entrepreneurship. That's the part where people don't see, right? People don't see the process. They just see the results. They see 7 locations. They don't understand, like, every location was crazy. You know, we go and open up another location, and there's all kinds of issues before we even open the door. There's all kinds of issues with the build out, with contractors, with you know how it is, man. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of ugly things that could happen before you even build out. Like, if you can't get the city to pass something, to give you a license for something, if you got things you gotta meet before you can do it, and it might cost you. You never know. If you literally have to put a whole AC unit in, that's 10 grand you didn't even budget for, right?
Yeah.
If you got to put a water fountain in somewhere, that's $3,500 you didn't even budget for. And people don't realize that, like, when you open up 7 locations, that's 7 times the problems. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So absolutely, every single step of the way we've met challenges, but we've learned from all those challenges. Like, I feel like the Headlines team were a wealth of information, because we didn't go through it through theory. We've experienced all this stuff. Like, we've experienced some stuff that most barbers have not experienced. Most barbershop owners haven't experienced, because most barbershop owners own one location, went through through problems one time. You know, when you open up a lot of locations, you go through a lot of problems, man, and you either fold under that pressure, or you grow from it. So I love it. I love the challenges.
Man, the journey that you taking us on, I mean, it's a lot. I like it. I'm like sitting up here glued. It's just a lot to soak in, Chris. It's a lot to soak in.
Thank you, man.
Now, we got to touch on the Tune 45, and we got to touch on the YouTube.
Tune 45 might be the craziest story out of all of it, to be honest, man. Like, it was a product of YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't touched on YouTube, but it was a product of YouTube. It was done organically. I never had any vision to have my own product line. I thought we were just gonna open up 100 headlines, and that was gonna be it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm good. But, you know, with other things, other verticals that we had created, I decided, you know, my motivation isn't money. My motivation is lasting generations. Like, I don't know my great grandfather's name. It's crazy. I don't know my great grandmother's name. I never met my grandfather in person. I've never met him. I never talked to him. He died before I was born. I don't even know his life story. That scares the hell out of me. And I've gone through, like, I specifically remember driving home one night and I almost lost my life. And when you go through a situation like that, the first thing you think about is all your loved ones. I didn't think about myself. I thought about my son. I thought about my wife. I thought about who would remember me, who would think about me. I thought about all the people I would let down. And that situation changed my life, and it made me think, damn, it's not about money. It's about legacy. It's about the story you leave behind, how many people you've touched, how many people you've influenced, how many lives you've changed, and what you do with the time that you have here on earth. And it gave me motivation to get out there, to spread the knowledge that I know, to help people. So I got on YouTube and I started doing these tutorials, and I started doing, documenting my life. And the more people that I started to inspire, the more people that would reach out to me and DM me and give me testimonials and tell me how I've helped them. And that's the most fulfilling thing in the world. So I wanted to do it on a bigger platform. And I remember going to the Orlando premiere and seeing that, and seeing the culture there, and seeing, you know, you could do a class, and you could get on stage, and you could talk to people, and you could offer something to the world. So I wanted that. And I went and I inquired and I asked them, how can I get on stage? And they told me, Chris, you have to have a booth, and then we can give you a classroom. So I said, cool, let's do it. How much is the booth? I ain't have no products. They said it starts at $3,000. If you want electricity, it's another $250. If you want Wi-Fi, it's another $350. If you want this, if you want that, the booth was crazy. It was expensive, and I wasn't gonna make any money off the classes. It was supposed to be free. So I kind of ranted to my community, to my audience that I had built, and they said, Chris, like, what's up? Do it. Like, do it. Get a product line. We'll support you. And that was the feedback I was getting. And I said, I didn't know what to do. So they told me to create a shave gel. They said, listen, the shave gels that are out there, there's some good ones, there's some bad ones, but we feel like ultimately they were saying they felt like it could be done better.
Yeah.
So I ran with it, bro. Like I literally started Googling how to make shave gel, YouTubing it, going into forums, learning about cosmetic chemistry, taking online courses. I was pirating, and I know it's illegal, but I'm gonna tell you guys, you got to get it. You know, any means possible, right? So I pirated some cosmetic chemistry books. And I started learning, like, I didn't just call a company and slap my label on it, because I have no money to do it.
Yeah.
I have no money to do it. So I had just bought a house. We had just opened up a barber shop. I couldn't, like, all my cash was gone. So it was the power of broke, right? I had to make it happen.
Hold on, repeat that again.
The power of broke. So I do want to touch on that. So you remember that interview with the Breakfast Club and Dame Dash?
Yeah.
And he always talked about, and people always make fun of Dame Dash and say he's broke, he don't got no money, he's in debt, this, that. I understood what he was saying. Not all the nasty shit, not all the hate, not all the dissing people who have jobs. But when he kept saying, I'm broke, yeah, but I still drive a Bentley. I still have businesses. My bills are a lot bigger than your bills. And what he was saying is, he's broke because he forces himself to be broke. Because when you have that mentality of broke, you got to get it by any means necessary. When you got a lot of money coming on, you start getting, what's the word, lackadaisical or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you start, you start splurging here and there. Whenever you get that money, you got to put it into something. And feel broke. You shouldn't have a lot of spending money. You shouldn't have money to buy a bunch of sneakers, to take a bunch of vacations. All that money that you get in, when you come up, when you get a big fat check, you got to get rid of that. Put it into an investment so you feel broke again. Although you feel broke, before you know it, you got 7 barbershops. Before you know it, you got a product line. Before you know it, you got residual income coming in from YouTube, from other sources. But you always feeling broke. That's what's gonna keep you humble enough to hit the streets, to get dirty, right? To get your hands dirty and continue to build. So I understood what he was saying with that, right? And that's called the power of broke.
I like
called
that.
The power of broke. So I had the power of broke, man, and I actually started learning about cosmetic chemistry, understanding what chemicals did, what was myth, what was real. You know, all this talk about preservatives and non-preservatives. What was the truth? What was it? What did I feel comfortable with? And how to create consistency, how to create glide to the blade, how to moisturize the skin, what causes, products to soothe the skin, what causes it to replenish and build up the skin after it's been broken down. How do you put fragrance into a product? I learned it, understood it, and I was able to speak to people, not just like learn, but have a real conversation about the product. So I started learning that stuff, and I was making it in my kitchen. My kitchen looked like a meth lab, bro. It was insane. And I would make little batches here and there. I'd take it to barbershops and get it tested out and stuff, and see what people thought about it. I still have some of the bottles I started out with. I still have some of the shade gel I started out with. And I remember Danny and Christian Perez calling me and saying, "Bro, I don't know what you're doing, but we want to be a part of it." I said, "Bro, that it means a lot to me that you guys will believe in what I'm doing. I would love to have you a part of the team." They asked me what I wanted to do, and I told them, I want to be in the premiere. I want to teach a class, but that's in 30 days. That's in a month. There's no way we'll make it on time. They literally were like, "Bro, you're tripping. Let's do it." In 30 days, we created a product, we created packaging, we created a booth, we set up the booth at the premiere, we set up a website. I remember making the website. I stayed up for 2 days straight building this website.
Oh, you made it yourself?
Yeah, I made it myself. Stayed up for 2 days straight. I did not sleep. And I made the website, and we started taking in orders. And oh my God, man, like, bro, the support that we got from the channel, from my following. At the time, I think I had 40,000 subscribers. Like, this is 100,000 subscribers ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
The support that we got, man. And then we go to the first show. They didn't know who the hell we were, bro. We sold 700 bottles at that show. It wasn't the best, but 700 bottles, like, I couldn't wrap my mind about it. I thought I was going to lose a lot of money in this show. And,
I'm tripping that you guys actually had 700 bottles to sell.
We made about 1,200 bottles. We brought them all. We sold 700. So we
Okay.
brought way too many, but it didn't matter because we sold 700.
Yeah.
We just didn't, want to. We didn't know what we were getting into. We didn't know if we were going to get some distributor to be like, "Yo, I want 20 cases." You know what I mean? So we wanted it to be safe. Better safe than sorry. But just the thought of on launch, nobody knows who you are at this show. This is a cosmetology show. This ain't no barber show. And we sold 700 bottles. Like, I was so proud of it, and I documented it all. It's on my YouTube channel. Like we documented that entire weekend. We vlogged it, and the cool thing about it is now I can go back a year and a half ago, and see that. You know what I'm saying? The launch of 245. So
Yeah, on the Cut Game Radio Show, we always say documentation is better than conversation. So when you document, the conversation, then you just getting all the benefits, especially if you're doing it with video. So
absolutely, bro. Like, that's the most powerful way to inspire people. A lot of people, will motivate by words and stories and stuff, but I like to show people, rather than speak about it.
So what's the science behind the name Tune 45?
Tune 45. So my father, he wasn't proud that I was a barber. He would make fun of me. Like, literally, my dad would say some slick stuff like, "You should go back and get your nail tech license too while you're at it." He would tell all my family in Colombia that I was an engineer. He wouldn't tell them I was a barber. I wanted to find a highlight. Like, I talk about it today. I'm like, growing up, everybody wants to be a rapper because they could point at a rapper who was doing big things, who was doing things that, people looked up to. You could point at a drug dealer and be like, "Yo, this dude, he's doing big things. Maybe I should be a drug dealer," right?
Yeah.
How many barbers could you point to? Right? Nowadays it's getting better, but like back then, who could you point to? There was nobody, right? I wanted to find somebody, so I kept searching and searching. And people like Curtis Smith would pop up, people like Pacino's would pop up, but I wanted to see somebody who left a legacy, who died a legend. And I went all the way back to ancient Egyptian times, and there was a barber. His name was Barber Mary Mayette. He has a statue today in the Museum of the University of Pennsylvania. Bro, we're talking 5,000 BC. And his name lives on today, right? In a time where inequality was crazy. The only people who got tombs were high priests, were royalty, or like super wealthy people, right?
Mm-hmm.
This barber had a tomb, and tombs are numbered. His number was Tomb 45. So I named the company Tomb 45 because it pays homage to where we started. Barbering starting in ancient Egyptian times. Look at how we were perceived. Look at look at how people thought about us. We were given tombs, and we talk about how we've declined so much, and the culture is all about bringing that back,
Yeah.
bringing that back. So, that's what Tomb 45 is. That's what it's about.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Now we gonna get
Yeah.
to, I consider you a YouTube sensation. So what
Thank
made
you, man.
you upload that first video on YouTube?
So YouTube, I didn't want to do it. Christian Perez and Danny both 5 years ago they were telling me to start a YouTube channel. That I should start a YouTube channel, but I didn't believe it was worth my time. Number one, because I thought I'd embarrass myself. I wasn't a good speaker. I can't say THs like I always say duh. I stutter a lot, I mumble a lot, and on YouTube, it's not like Instagram. Like, people control you and you'll never know who they are. So people will really go in. And I was intimidated by it. I ain't gonna lie. That's why there's not a lot of successful YouTubers. It's not easy. So I shied away from it. And then I started my channel about 2.5 years ago. December will be 3 years. I'm sorry, January will be 3 years. And I remember the T-Rex trimmers. Remember cutting the top of the T outliners?
Yeah.
Became really popular. That was like not almost 3 years ago. That was my first video. I took my phone, I recorded my new trimmers that I had just cut open, and I threw it on YouTube, and it got 1,000 views in like a week. I was like, damn, this is crazy. And then I had bought my wife a camera. Remember, I started my channel in January. I bought her a camera on Christmas, and she wasn't using it. So I took that camera, and I decided I was going to cut my brother-in-law's hair in the dining room, and I recorded it. And it's still up on my YouTube channel right now. I think it has like 300,000 views right now.
Dang.
Worst video I've ever made. Terrible lighting. Didn't know nothing about cameras. I was stuttering. I was mumbling. But those two videos kicked off my channel, man, and I've been running with it ever since.
Your personal opinion, why do you think your channel has grown so fast? And what do you think makes your channel attractive?
To this day, you could look in the comments, and especially the older comments, and see people saying, you should write a script. You're studying a lot. You should write a script. I refuse to do it. I stay true to myself. I told people, this is about documenting. This isn't about being perfect. If I gotta wait till I'm perfect to start, I'll never start, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it was all about being transparent, being human, being a real person, and it was also about giving more than I was taking. And I give a lot. Like, one of the biggest things that I get hated on a lot by a lot of barbers in the industry because they think I'm watering down the game. They think I'm giving out too much information. And for me, I look at it like, dude, these people who are watching my channel, a lot of them just paid $15,000 for barber school, and they don't even know how to do a fade. So who's watering the game? Me or the system? How can we put somebody in a barber school? They go for a year, they come out, they still can't do a fade. They still don't know how to build clientele. How will we ever get respect for this system if most of the products that we're putting out can't even produce? And it's not because they're lazy, it's because the information ain't out there. How many barber books can we point out? There's like 4 of them.
Yeah.
And every other industry has a whole section full, right? In the UK, there's all kinds of continued education. In the US, how many continued education courses can you consistently point out and say is available? The culture don't even think continued education is okay. They think it's a gimmick. They think that they're wasting their money. They're not gonna learn nothing. So the problem is me. I feel like I'm the solution. Do you know how many 12-year-olds DM me telling me their dream is to be a barber? That was unheard of. I told you my experience. I was laughing at barbers. Barbering was whack to me. That was my experience all the way up until I became a barber. Now kids are looking up to barbers. And there's a lot of people saying, all these social media barbers are whack. I don't think so, man. I think people are looking way too small. They're thinking way too small. I think all these social media barbers, whether you like them or not, they're giving people inspiration. They're making it cool to be a barber. they're gaining respect for the barber industry. Like, since when did you ever see a barber in a jet airplane? I don't have hate for that, man. Bro, that is amazing. That just goes to show the evolution of barbering. It's only going to get bigger from there, because all these 12-year-old kids that DM me, tell me their dream is to be a barber, they're going to be way better than any of us. Way better. They're going to be doing way bigger things than any of us. And I'm loving where the barbering industry is going, man.
There's examples of amazing work that pushes the bar forward. When you see a barber in a jet, that elevates our career. So at the end of the day, there's no room to hate. It's a lot to be learned from people who are experiencing success in different areas within the industry. So
absolutely, man. Today, man, my pops is more than proud to say I'm a barber. You know, I've been able to prove him wrong. I think a lot of the kids that DM me, for the most part, their parents kind of feel the same way. You know, they can point at Pacinos, they can point at J Majors and other people and say, hey, you know, that's what I want to be. Their parents don't really see it yet. You know what I'm saying? It's still not like a household name type thing. But the fact is, like, now little by little, there's people to point to, you know, and like you said, it's connected. You know, even clients are showing other barbers my YouTube videos saying they want this. You know what I'm saying? Like, and what's happening is I'm educating the client, hey, this is going to cost you more than your typical haircut. So it's making it easier for the barber to be like, hey, this is $35 because I got to style your hair. You know what I'm saying? I got to add a little product to your hair.
Yeah.
We're informing them. You know what I'm saying? That this is how it is. And it's got to be out there. It's got to be on a bigger platform. It can't be, if we got a whole bunch of closed walls and a whole bunch of small circles in the same industry, then if there's no communication, if there's no information out there publicly on a big platform, how are we going to grow? How are we going to grow as an entire industry?
Different situations will cause the industry to become uncomfortable in different areas, and that's when we experience growth. So a lot of times, whatever is causing a little discomfort, there's going to be a positive outcome from that.
Yeah. So
we asked everyone on the Cut Game Radio Show, if there was a code of conduct for barbers, what code will Chris Bossio add to it?
I just need communication. You know, a lot of barbers, they go into barber school because it's flexible. I'm not naive to that. A lot of barbers, you know, they said, you know, as a barber, you can create your own schedule or whatever. Yeah, you're right, but you need to communicate with me what your schedule is going to be. What your set schedule is going to be, right? You can choose it, but it's got to be a set schedule. You got to communicate with me. If you're going to run late, communicate with me, communicate with your client. And don't even communicate with me. Communicate with your team, right? Because we need to know what's going on if we're gonna operate this business and work as a unit to build this brand. So for me, it's communication, man. I think all the other stuff is common sense. I like to think that because of my YouTube channel, I got the biggest barber school in the world. And a lot of the people that we bring in literally come out of barber school. They've been watching my videos from barber school. So they understand my expectations. They understand the culture that we have at Headlines. So if you come to Headlines, you kind of have that understanding. So the only thing I ever need to tell my barbers that come in is I need communication. That's the code of conduct for me.
That's what's up, man. Well, man, I appreciate you for blessing the Cut Game Radio Show with your presence. Right now, I'm going to give you the stage. I need you to drop something real heavy on them, drop some good cut game. You've been dropping cut game this whole time we've been interviewing you, but I need you to drop some good cut game, something that you figured out.
Sure. So I gotta pay homage again to my boy Danny, my business partner, my friend. You know, one of the most influential things he's ever said to me. You know, he talks about Michael Jordan a lot. He talks about taking shots. And whenever we make a decision, if we don't know whether to do it or not, we always think Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan, he once said, I've taken and missed more shots than any player in the history of the NBA. But no one ever talks about that. No one ever remembers that. They only remember the ones that I've made. So take shots, man. I get a lot of young barbers who ask me, you know, for advice, how to get my channel going, how to get this. And they give me all kinds of excuses why they haven't started their channel or why they haven't started their shop and all these things. And I never have a plan for anything. I never think things through before I take action. I just know that there's only a certain amount of time that you have in this life. It could be taken any day. It could be taken at any second. So you got to take as many damn shots as you can possibly take in this lifetime. And that is the main reason why I've been able to experience something in every vertical. From being a successful barber, cutting 100 heads a week, to being a barbershop owner, having 7 locations, to creating a YouTube channel, growing a huge following, product line, traveling the world, getting paid to educate, so many different verticals. And the only reason why it happened was because I didn't have to think about it. When the opportunity came, I said, let's go. Let's take shots. Let's go. So if you take that advice, don't worry about failing, because you're just going to learn from those failures, right? You know, all the most successful people in the world will tell you that they've learned from failure. It's the best school. It's the best school you can think of is experience. Take shots, guys. Barbers. Whether you're new or you've been in the game for a long time and you just haven't stepped out of your comfort zone, take shots, man. Let's go 3 for 40. But at least you made 3 of them. It's better, you know what I'm saying? It's better. Yeah. It's better than taking no shots and making 0, right? Let's do it.
Man, that's what's up. That's what's up. Now y'all see why we got Chris Bossio on the Cut Game Radio Show. It's so many nuggets that was shared today. It's so much you can learn from just hearing this story. I can't wait to play this over and over again and just go back to it and get some more from this interview, man. I thank you for blessing us with your presence on the Cut Game Radio Show. Where can they find you?
You know, all my social media outlets, you can find me at Bossio Cuts, B as in boy, Ossio Cuts, with an S, not a Z. Or just look up my name, Chris Bossio. You know, I want to make sure that I branded my name, so I made sure my name was involved with everything. So just look up Chris Bossio. You'll find me on anything. Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube. But YouTube's my main thing, so follow me.
And make sure y'all like, share, subscribe to the Cut Game Radio Show. We're available on all podcast platforms. Just look us up, the Cut Game, and leave us a review. That helps with our growth. It helps with our ranking. It just helps the overall brand. Now y'all stay elevated, stay motivated, stay on your jet fuel, stay groomed. Cut Game Radio Show, we out.
That concludes our show. Please join us next week as we chop up game and share secrets to success on the Cut Game Radio Show.